Today, Epic Help will show you how to replace an alternator in a 2006 Hyundai Tucson. Before we get started, if you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The first thing you want to do is remove the air intake duct so you can have easy access to the battery. Before I replaced the alternator, I tested the battery with a multimeter. With the vehicle running, I was getting readings in the 11 volt range. High probability the alternator needed replaced, so I replaced it. Now turn off the vehicle and remove the negative battery terminal. To get to the alternator, you will want to remove the coolant reservoir. It is held on by 2 bolts. After removing the 2 bolts, just set the coolant reservoir off to the side. Next, take off the cover that sets on the engine. There is a bracket on top of the radiator that holds the upper radiator hose. I just removed the 1 bolt that was holding it in. When removing the top radiator hose, make sure you have a drain pan. It's best to have something that is located just under the location where you disconnect it. I used a pair of groove joint pliers to loosen the clamp. Once you pull it off, then set it aside. The next thing you want to remove is the radiator fan. Okay, so the fan connector, as you can see right here, there's a button. You push in, and then pull it apart. It comes apart pretty easily. The radiator fan is held in with only 2 bolts. A short Phillips screwdriver is very helpful in getting this off. Now we finally have clear access to the alternator. You first want to remove the electrical connectors. There is a 14mm bracket bolt that holds the electrical connector. It needs to come out so you can freely lift the alternator out. Okay, so we need to loosen this adjusting bolt first. Once we loosen it enough, then we can take off this other bolt. The adjusting bolt is 12mm. The bolt that holds it onto the bracket is 13mm. After removing the adjusting bolt, I took off the belt and the alternator freely moves. At this point, you can just pull the alternator out. The bolt still in the alternator easily comes out, but you don't need to remove it. As you can see, the alternator has plenty of room to be pulled out now. Okay, so the old alternator, which looks burned or something, it's crusty. And then we got the new alternator. And I like to compare my parts. I look at them very closely to make sure I got the right one. And as far as I can tell, this is the correct one. It even has the same plug and the same bolt holes. Okay, it's always a good idea to check your parts, because I've bought stuff from auto parts stores before and they were not good. They gave me the wrong one. The bolt goes in on the side of the pulley. You put it in, put it through. Once you put it in, then you can go ahead and shove this alternator back in its slot. Okay, you'll need to wiggle the alternator back and forth until you get it into the slot. Now it's time to put the belt back on. The belt is in okay shape, and there's 3 pulleys that this goes around. One of them is the alternator pulley. Okay, I just put the belt back on, so the alternator is resting on the belt. Now I got to put this back in. I'm going to put this one in first, and then I'm going to adjust it and make it tight. After putting everything back together and starting the vehicle, I tested the volts coming from the battery. This time my multimeter gave a reading of 13.7 volts. Looks like this job is done. Thank you for watching Epic Help.